Hello, this is Catalina Moraga, and today I am going to talk to you about Nicholas Hilliard. Okay, so Nicholas Hilliard was the greatest English painter of the English Renaissance. During the 6th and 7th century, he contributed a lot to formulate the concept of portraiture thanks to the miniature portraits that he painted that have been considered to be Yule-like. Hilliard enjoyed royal patronage of Queen Elizabeth I and James I, painting tiny oval portraits of their courts. He highly developed the art of limning, as it was called in the Elizabethan era, taking the painting of miniature portraiture to its highest point of development around the time. Well, now that we know who he was, it's time to talk about his life. So, Nicholas Hilliard was born in 1547 in Exeter, England. As it was customary at the time he lived, around the age of 10 years, Nicholas was sent to live with the Bodleys so they could give him an education. The Bodleys had to flee to Geneva after Queen Mary came to the throne because they were Protestants and could be persecuted. As a consequence, Nicholas was exposed to humanist education and French art, which could have influenced his own creation. After some time, he came back to England in 1562 and completed an apprenticeship with the goldsmith Robert Brandon, the jeweler to Queen Elizabeth I. Sometime after, he married Alice, Robert's daughter, and had 7 children with her. Years later, one of his sons, Lawrence, followed his father's step to become a limner, although Hilliard's pupil Isaac Oliver was much more eminent than Lawrence. He continued to practice as a jeweler and a limner, and in around 1575, I think, he began working for Queen Elizabeth I and her court. In 1684, he made Elizabeth's Great Seal of England, which we can see in the screen. Almost all documents during the Tudor period were closed with seals, typically with wax, both to ensure that they would not be read before they reached the person that was meant to read it first, and to identify the sender of it. Most seals had a picture of the owner and a motto around the edge. The Great Seal belonged to the monarch and was attached to all the important transactions that he or she carried out. He produced paintings made of oil that were full of intimacy and subtlety. This mainly because of the fine use of line and minimal use of chiaroscuro. This can be explained. Elizabeth I was his patron, and of course Hilliard wanted to please her and reflect her views on his work. Seeing that the best to show oneself needeth no shadow of place, but rather the open light, Her Majesty chose her place to sit for that purpose in the open alley of a goodly garden, where no tree was near, nor any shadow at all. So it's very natural to say that these pictures typically functioned as coded messages in the game of courtly love. He also explored the conventional type of portrait, and he produced many of those of Queen Elizabeth I, like the ones we can see on the screen right now. In the year 1600, he published a treatise on the art of limning, in which he gave an account of his method and some sidelights of his temperament. In addition, in his treatise, he also states that his sensibility was influenced by the painter Hans Holbein the Younger, a foreign artist that was also very famous in England during the Renaissance for his art. After enjoying patronage from the Queen, in 1603, he was then in service for King James I and his court, although his art was beginning to go out of fashion. So he was succeeded by Isaac Oliver, who became the painter of the king's court. Finally, not everything was la vie en rose for Nicholas Hilliard. He had quite a lot of financial difficulties during his life, and in the year 1617 he was briefly imprisoned for his debt. 2 years later, Hilliard died in London, England. Thank you very much for watching my video. I hope you liked it, and I hope my teacher gives me a very good mark because I am very cold in this shirt, but I had to dress pretty for the video. So yes, bye!